Mexico, the biggest cartel crackdown in over a decade is underway. They're looking for drugs, especially fentanyl, a synthetic opioid 50 times more potent than heroin. Easy to make and with massive profits, it's become a miracle product for the country's notorious drug cartels. In the US, fentanyl is killing more people than any other illicit drug.
Fentanyl overdoses are now leading cause of death for Americans aged 18 to 49.
And almost all of it comes from Mexico.
It's fentanyl pills like these that have killed thousands of Americans and have caused immeasurable tension between the United States and Mexico.
President Trump has demanded Mexico curb the flow of the drug over the border or face crippling tariffs, even military invasion.
The drug cartels are waging war in America. Mexico's going to have to straighten it out really fast.
Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum has been forced to act.
México no quiere confrontación.
Cartel bosses have been caught.
One of 29 extradited to the U.S. late last night.
Massive quantities of fentanyl have been seized.
México ha logrado el mayor decomiso en su historia de fentanilo.
And drug labs across the country have been smashed.
This is the face of the crackdown. Mexico has responded to pressure from Trump by sending 10,000 troops to the border. But it's the cartels that control the fentanyl industry, and they're not giving up that easily.
They have people everywhere, eyes everywhere.
We're here to see if the crackdown is working. We're heading to one of Mexico's major border crossings with America, where more fentanyl pills have been seized than anywhere else. Fentanyl is cheap to make and easy to smuggle. Millions of pills can be concealed in a single car.
This highway is a main thoroughfare that connects Mexico City all the way to the Arizona border. Every day, thousands of drivers bring goods to America, cars, food, even drugs.
This entire territory is controlled by the infamous Sinaloa cartel. The sheer volume of traffic makes finding drugs like finding a needle in a haystack. The border crossing cuts through the town of Nogales. Life here revolves around the wall.
Yo voy con Nogales. Amigos, yo voy con Nogales.
A cartel town can be a dangerous place for a local cop like Martin Pino. He's been on the force for over a decade, but his past 2 years here have been the busiest.
De alguna forma hay presencia de estas células o grupos criminales. Es notorio. El policía es pues muy activo, es muy constante aquí. Es frontera y día y noche hay actividad. Todos corremos un riesgo, pero ser policía pues implica más.
What are these guys doing here?
El ejército mexicano.
What are they looking for?
La droga conocida como el fentanilo, porque es lo que tiene más demanda en la actualidad.
Everyone here is under suspicion, even cops.
¿Qué tal? Aquí, Policía Municipal, jefe, estamos realizando una...
The military has just pulled out our fixer and the police official we were speaking to.
Nomás ahí le encargo, ¿no? Que no estén tan así, porque de hecho estoy hablando muy bien de la coordinación que hay de nosotros con ustedes, pues.
We're taking photos of her vehicle as well. I guess it's the sensitivity of the topic and the time currently of what the U.S. and Mexico relationship is going through. Our fixer is just trying to calm them down and explain that we're just journalists covering this story. All right, they're coming back. They're just nervous? Why is there so much military presence in Nogales right now?
La presidenta Sheinbaum y el presidente Trump están haciendo e implementando más seguridad en estas partes, más prevención y no hay tanta libertad para la gente mala que quiere realizar sus actividades ilícitas.
The cartels have honed their smuggling methods over decades. Martin's taking us to see one of their more ingenious routes. While most drugs are smuggled over the border, the cartels are famous for smuggling them under as well.
Wow. So cool. You can hear the cars passing literally right above us.
La línea amarilla es lo que hace, la que marca los límites de México con Estados Unidos.
This cross-border drain has to be constantly monitored. Smaller tunnels dug from nearby houses once connected the smugglers to this main route. These white patches are passages the police sealed up.
Wow, and there's so many of them. I guess that shows you just how desperate people are just to get across and to bring drugs across the border.
Es sorprendente, es sorprendente, increíble. También yo como autoridad, difícil de creerlo. Es como si fuera alguna película o algo ciencia ficción.
It must be so lucrative for them to get this creative.
Es demasiado poder, demasiado dinero lo que reditúa en esas actividades para poder toda la logística, ingenieros, maquinaria, para poder lograr esta entrada a este túnel. Es sorprendente, te reitero.
It's not just Mexican authorities keeping a watchful eye over the border. In recent months, U.S. troops and military hardware have appeared here too. In some cases, practically in Mexicans' backyards.
We just drove past houses of people who live right along the border. The wall is right in front of me, and just past it is an American military, obvious show of force, put there about 2 months ago. We've hit the outskirts of town. The landscape is quite different, but the one thing that's consistent all throughout Nogales is the border wall.
Much of the territory between the U.S. and Mexico is fenced. But with a border stretching over 3,000 kilometers from the Pacific Ocean to the Gulf of Mexico, there are gaps.
So this is the wall that we've seen throughout town. It's tall, hard to climb, there's barbed wire. But then in this particular spot where we are on the border, it suddenly drops down to this. And as you can see, we're the only ones here for miles around.
People and drugs have often been smuggled across blind spots in the border. Now, they're watched by armored U.S. military Stryker vehicles. With state-of-the-art surveillance equipment, they can detect the slightest movement. It takes only minutes for U.S. troops to arrive.
I think they're scoping us out in the same way we're scoping them out.
Unos periodistas que vienen de Australia. Ok, está bien. No te preocupes. Vale.
Wow. How does it feel for you? This is your country, this is your town, to see military men literally on the border.
Es bueno porque la gente que se dedica al narcotráfico, a los indocumentados, al traslado de indocumentados, se frena, se detiene al ver este tipo de situación, las autoridades del otro lado.
There are more eyes in the sky, too. Covert American drone flights over Mexico have increased. And in February, the U.S. government designated some cartels terrorist organizations, giving it even more power to hunt them down. The Sinaloa cartel was once confident, boasting about its business, but not anymore.
We're about to meet someone linked with the Sinaloa cartel. He's agreed to speak with us, but asked us to hide his identity and location.
This man, who we'll call Manuel, says they're under real pressure.
So it's, right now, the thing is crazy. O sea, it's fucked up. Y la gente está espantada. Pues para venirse para acá.
Are you scared of getting caught?
Pues también. Pues sí, también. Hay más Border Patrol, más Guardia Nacional. O sea, mucho más gobierno, mucho más. Era un poquito más fácil, ¿no? O sea, de caminar. El negocio, a lo que se escucha, es de que pues sí, está afectando demasiado.
Manuel says he's not involved in the drug side of the cartel business. But he brings us this, 25 fentanyl pills worth about $200 US.
Where did you get this?
Where? I can't say.
You can't tell me.
Mexico's cartels like fentanyl because it can be made in a home kitchen with ingredients purchased from China and sent in the mail. That's why it's so difficult to stamp out, and why authorities are unforgiving when they catch anyone involved.
So what happens if you get pulled over and they see that you're carrying 25 pills?
I'm going to jail. It's no good.
I think he's getting uncomfortable.
No good. No puedes estar filmando aquí afuera, güey.
I think he's getting uncomfortable.
Sí.
So we should...
Si no, aquí le cortamos. No puedes grabar.
He doesn't want to be in it. He doesn't want to be in it. He's done.
Mexico City is home to over 20 million people, a vibrant melting pot. For centuries, it's been a hub of cultural and political power. Claudia Sheinbaum was mayor here before winning a landslide victory in October 2024 to become Mexico's first female president. With security one of the biggest issues, she immediately adopted a tougher stance on crime than her predecessor.
Está el tema del fentanilo. Vamos a seguir trabajando en la incautación de fentanilo. Se sigue haciendo.
But Trump's election and the threat of tariffs pushed her even further down that path. Her promised crackdown was enough to placate Trump, initially.
President Sheinbaum is a woman. I like her very much. And they've agreed to put in 10,000 soldiers permanently, like forever.
But it hasn't always worked. He's threatened to send U.S. troops over the border to fight the cartels unless she does more. Every day, President Sheinbaum holds a press conference, and we've managed to get a question in.
Buenos días, Señora Presidenta. How much of a show is your crackdown to appease President Trump? Are you doing enough to avoid a U.S. military intervention?
El paso de fentanilo de México a los Estados Unidos ha caído de una manera muy importante. Entre el periodo de la entrada del presidente Trump al gobierno de los Estados Unidos a la fecha, la caída es de cerca del 40%. ¿Lo hacemos para satisfacer al presidente Trump? No.
He says that you have rejected his offer of U.S. intervention because you're afraid of the cartels. What do you say to that?
Rechazamos la presencia de tropas de los Estados Unidos porque no estamos de acuerdo. Porque México es un país soberano, independiente. Entonces, hay una estrategia para atender la seguridad y nos coordinamos y colaboramos con Estados Unidos. No nos subordinamos.
Guadalupe Correa Cabrera is an organized crime expert who's been closely following Sheinbaum's security strategy.
Claudia Sheinbaum is a scientist, a liberal politician, a feminist, so she has positioned herself very well in the themes that matter to the Mexican people. And that's why she's extremely, extremely popular. She has maintained this popularity, also helped by the distance she has taken, at least in discourse, from Donald J. Trump, the President of the United States.
What do you think of how she manages President Trump?
She manages President Trump very well. She is a woman that also plays in her favor, and she knows how to respond. You know, she confronts Trump, but not in a way that seems that it is a fight. She does it with respect.
President Sheinbaum said her strategy of cracking down on fentanyl is working because border seizures of fentanyl is down.
I mean, if we focus on that number, we don't really know what is going on. If they go down, it's because probably they are entering without them knowing. Because probably, you know, cartels are creating new tunnels, or they are doing through the sea. We don't really know what that really means.
Guadalupe fears Sheinbaum's focus on fentanyl is distracting her from Mexico's real problems.
Drug consumption is an issue. For Mexico, corruption, organized crime, extortion, kidnapping, different forms of organized crime. But it's not only connected to fentanyl. This show is costing Mexico, a lot of money without addressing our own problems. It will backfire not only on Claudia Sheinbaum, but on the Mexican people.
This is Tijuana, the busiest border crossing between Mexico and the US. All these cars are going to America, but American tourists also love coming here because here you can get anything. Cartels see it as a huge business opportunity to smuggle drugs across the border, but that fight for control has also turned Tijuana into one of the most dangerous cities in the world.
Once a bustling tourist town, today, Tijuana is where Mexico's problems are writ large. This city has been gripped by a cartel turf war for years.
Continuing violence in Tijuana, cartel members roamed the streets with military-style weapons, pulling people from cars and setting fires.
National Guard troops are now joining the police on patrols as part of the crackdown. But the violence has only worsened.
So this is the neighborhood you grew up in?
Yeah, it's called Libertad, which is Spanish for freedom. And it's one of the first neighborhoods that were founded in Tijuana.
Local crime reporter Ines Garcia Ramos has seen the city change dramatically over the years.
Was it safe growing up around here?
I remember I had a sense that it was safe, like homicides were not that common as they are today.
And why? Why has it become more dangerous?
Things changed because there was more drug dealing on the streets. And this creates a whole different environment where you see people killing each other just for taking a street where they can sell drugs.
And how present are cartels here?
I think people have a sense that almost anyone that you can cross the street to can be involved, so you have to be more careful. If these people want to harm you, they're gonna do it.
Cartel violence across Mexico has killed more than 450,000 people in the past 20 years. Photos of the missing haunt the streets of Tijuana.
The levels of violence that we see today, I think it's just crazy. It shouldn't be a common thing, and that as you're walking through the street, you find human body parts that are being eaten by a dog. It shouldn't be like your normal life, but it feels so normal in Tijuana. It feels like these are like war crimes, because this has a deeper purpose to terrorize people.
Ines says the president's crackdown is ignoring Tijuana's most pressing problems.
I don't really think it's effective because organized crime surpassed government capacity years or decades ago. It's incredible how much power they have, how many people they have working for them, how easy they can infiltrate any part of the country they want. So thinking that sending more police officers into Tijuana, it's very naive.
Fentanyl is no longer just an American problem. Border towns like Tijuana are now suffering their own opioid crisis. Mark Rivera is a recovered drug user who got clean in prison. Now, he's trying to help others find a way out of addiction. He calls himself a tactical nurse. It's not an official job, but with so little support for users in Tijuana, he's one of the few helping.
Yo anduve aquí también consumiendo drogas inyectadas. Yo salí de aquí, de hecho. Entonces, por eso que tengo mucha empatía con la gente, porque pues saben que yo anduve aquí y que ya salí de esto. He ayudado mucho a salir de aquí. A veces regresan, a veces se quedan locos, a veces se mueren de sobredosis, o a veces simplemente ya no sé nada de ellos.
Mark doesn't come here to stop people taking drugs. Along with a team of volunteers, he hands out clean needles and helps them shoot up safely.
Cuando no vengo yo, todos empiezan a compartir las jeringas. Se matan entre ellos mismos porque pues están contagiados, están compartiendo la jeringa.
This man came here to buy heroin on his way to work. Like most drugs, it's now often laced with fentanyl to make it more potent.
How often do you do this?
Diario. Every day.
Every day.
Diario.
And how does it feel?
¿Cómo te sientes? Muy bien. Muy bien, muy bien, muy bien.
Yeah. And how do you pay for it?
I'm working.
You're working.
I'm working.
And it all goes to this.
No. My pay is for my family.
How do you pay for this habit?
washing cars, lo que sea.
The cartels are known to test their new fentanyl products on users like these, sometimes with fatal results.
Yo si vendiera droga, yo no me quisiera quedar sin clientes. Y la gente que vende drogas aquí se está quedando sin clientes.
What's happened to him?
Él se inyectó mal la droga fuera de la vena, entonces se le hizo un absceso.
So this is part of what you do? You also help them with the wounds that they've gotten from drug use?
Yeah, es for heroin, crystal, with fentanyl. And this es el problema con estas situaciones de que estas personas no saben que eso es lo que le provoca este tipo de abscesos, ¿verdad?
He's in so much pain, it's hard to look at.
On the outskirts of the city is a place known as the Castle, a makeshift rehab center more reminiscent of a prison. It's a desperate attempt for some of the city's users to get clean.
El único que importa es mi Dios Pipa, güey. Y yo te comprendo, güey, porque yo anduve peor que tú, güey. A Dios gracias, me encuentro aquí tocando madera, güey, hablando con ustedes, güey.
The lack of government rehab services means many have no other place to go.
Es un lugar para guardar a las personas que yo rescato, para yo mismo llevar mi proceso con ellos. Yo no te he conocido una persona que consuma fentanilo y que dure más de 2 años. No te he conocido ninguno hasta ahorita. Normalmente mueren al año o se quedan locos. El que no se muere se queda loco. Entonces tengo que venir hasta acá, hacer lo poquito que pueda y no es mucho.
Quédense así, quédate así, Kevin, quédate así, quédate así.
Many of the castle's residents are brought in by family members struggling to cope.
Hagan plancha, hagan plancha.
They're often confined for months and forced to go cold turkey. Cooking, cleaning, everyone works for their keep.
Si es decisión de ellos dejar de consumir, pueden seguir trabajando y viviendo aquí. Y si no, pues simplemente se van a escapar y van a volver a drogarse.
There are thought to be thousands of unregulated drug rehab centers like this in Mexico. Their hardline methods are controversial. But Mark is certain that without places like this, more people would be dying of fentanyl.
No hemos llegado al grado zombie que tienen en Estados Unidos, pero sí, aquí en Tijuana el problema del fentanilo está muy agravado. He notado que hay más personas que se enganchan más rápido a esa sustancia, no como antes.
But with the military in place and cartels under pressure, will it be enough?
Do you actually think fentanyl will ever go away?
Inclusive no descarto que pudieran inventar una nueva droga. Es que la verdad yo pienso que va a seguir. Yo pienso que esto va a seguir.